We're living in momentous times. Now, I don't know whether you know, but this is a world first. The TED conferences go all over the world, all different countries. This is the very, very first time. Normally, you take a place name. Normally, you take a university name. This is the very first time a TED has ever been named after a person. And I just wanted to say it's a fantastic honour, and we mentioned before Sheldon, I just want to say there has never yet been a TEDx Cooper. So, Sheldon Cooper, eat your heart out. What we're going to be looking at today, plugging your brains into a network, what's the possibility, both from a healthcare point of view and in terms of maybe some of you feel quite bored being a human, quite limited in what you can do, particularly your brain doesn't perform how it should. So what are the possibilities of an upgrade? So we're going to, a whistle-stop tour on the back of healthcare, but as we're going to see, it's a lot more than that. Implants and things like that. Class 2, it sounds quite technical. In fact, what a Class 2 implant is, for those of you that don't know, this is a younger version of me, way back, the last millennium, and my GP, so this was all done on the National Health. And what I'm having implanted is this little device, not the thing on the left-hand side. This quaint currency we still have. The thing on the right-hand side, a radio frequency identification device, and I had this implanted because various people, Peter Cochrane, who's then head of BT Research Labs, was saying in the future we're not going to need passports, we're not going to need credit cards. What we'll have is a little implant under the skin, but nobody had actually tried it until this particular experiment. Now, what it did for me was in my doorways. I'm from Reading University. Now, there might be some... Is anybody else here from Reading? Oh, come on. Anybody else here from Reading? Yay, there we go. They need a bit warming up there, I think. In the building, Cybernetics building at Reading, we've got particular coils of wire in the door frames, and if you have an implant of this type and you walk through the door frames, then current is induced in the coil, transmit a signal back to the coils which are linked to the computer, and what it did for me was as I walked down the corridor, the lights came on, just for me, walking to my laboratory, the door opened, I mean, it's really cool stuff. Then... coming in the door, says, hello, Professor Warwick, all fantastic stuff. And various people say, oh, who's ever going to want to have anything like that? Now, has anybody here got a cat or a dog with a chip implanted? It's all right, you can speak. Is there anybody out there? Yeah. You can rest assured that this was fully tested on humans before your animal. So no need to worry at all. There's actually a nightclub, I know in the academic world we can't afford those things, but there's a nightclub in Barcelona, there's another one in Rotterdam called the Bayer Beach Club, and if you go there, they actually send you around the corner and you can get one of these things, a smaller version, don't worry, it's not that big, implanted, and then when you go in the nightclub, you don't have to pay for your drinks directly, it's automatically charged to your implant. It's serious, try it. Good advert for the Bayer Beach Club. That's implant number one. I'm going to flick on to regulation because some of you may think this isn't going anywhere. Well, in the United States, they have, for people with diabetes and with epilepsy, they can have this thing implanted. And now under Barack Obama, the healthcare rules that you have to have it regulated, even with the possibility that you may have to have one implanted. We'll see where that goes. But I'm going to take you right up to date to what some of my students are doing. This is the sort of implants you could try yourself. This is Jawesh. We see this. This is one of my students. And I've got 3 students now that have magnets implanted in their fingertips for part of the degree courses that they're doing, both students. We have to get ethical approval from the university to do this sort of thing. And you may notice, I'm supposed to stay on this red carpet, but I'm going to zip off for the moment, because you may notice here that the guy who's doing the implant has tattoos on his arm. That's because he is a tattoo artist. That's what he does. And he goes by the name, this is serious, he goes by the name of Dr. Evil. Now, we have to fill in a form for the university that says who is carrying out the medical procedure. Yeah, all sorts of problems. I mean, they can be really awkward over it, I have to say. This is an X-ray of Jawesh's fingertips. You can see the magnets implanted. Now, what we're doing now, on the baseball cap, he's got ultrasonic sensors, and the output from those sensors is fed down to a little coil of wire around the magnet. And what happens, as an object comes closer, the current in the coil is changed so that the magnet vibrates more the closer an object is and less as the object is further away. So essentially, Jawesh can feel how far objects are away. So it's sensory substitution. Now, Ian Harrison, he's a PhD student with me now, he's linked it up to an infrared sensor. So he has magnets implanted. Now, infrared is like a heat signal. So what he can do is remotely feel how hot objects are. So if you can get the idea, you can point, you're hotter than you're hotter. I mean in a temperature sense. That's not, don't sort of, stalk me or something like that, because I'm, particularly the guys here, I really didn't mean it. But you see, the military application for this is immediate. If you're a soldier and you're about to go into a room and you don't know whether there's anybody there or not, you can simply push your finger around the corner and scan and say, there's somebody over there, and you know exactly where they are, but also how hot they are, for what use that is. This is Ashley, and he's doing some work. A guy, Paul Bakirita, originally did this, and it's actually sending different stimulating pulses into his tongue to communicate in a new way. And this is interesting because people who have never tried this before, if you actually tried it, very quickly you'd be able to pick up letters and signs. So it's a new way of communicating. But the interesting thing is, if he sends a particular, let's say a triangle, a particular shape, then the person, even though they haven't tried it before, would say, yeah, that's a triangle. But if we ask them to say, well, draw the triangle, then some people will draw it the right way up. Some people draw it upside down and sideways, all sorts of different dimensions to it. And we're not sure why. It's the routing from the tongue up to the brain is very, very rapid, and people can learn to use it to communicate very quickly, but there seems to be a particular way that it's wired that we have a lot to learn about. So it's one of those things with research, you end up with more questions than you started with. Now, some of you, this is where, if you want to go ahead with this, it could be dangerous for you now, but it might be something you want to do when you're technically dead. So it's the sort of thing to put, not before, but as I die, could I try this, please? And that is, when you think of a robot, you think of either a computer-controlled device or perhaps something that's remote-controlled. Well, what we're developing are robots with their own brains. And what we do, you see on the right-hand side of the picture here is the physical robot. I mean, typically, because it's laboratory and we use a little robot on wheels, it has ultrasonic sensors, just like we saw on the baseball cap. But the brain of the robot is not a computer. The thing that says MEA is multi-electrode array. Now, it's all right, you don't have to learn this. I'm not going to test you on it later on. What does it say? About two people, yes. All right, now come on, what is multi-electrode array? Right, what it actually is a little dish on the bottom of which are electrodes. What we do is take brain cells from rat embryos, separate them, and then squidge them into this little dish and grow them. We have to feed them using minerals and nutrients, a little pink liquid that is amazingly expensive in comparison with Lucozade and advertising again, I shouldn't say it, but it does roughly the same stuff. And they're kept in an incubator at 37 degrees centigrade. That's where they grow, and then we link them up to a robot body. So the physical body of the robot is a technological body, but the brain is a biological brain that's growing. And what we're looking at is trying to figure out particularly how memories appear in the brain, how it learns and adapts and so on and so forth. We can witness it learning simple tasks at the present time. Importantly, at the moment, the rat brain robot, as it were, has about 100,000 brain cells, whereas humans have, how many brain cells do we have? 6. This is a Manchester United supporter, obviously. Don't clap, I was that scientific. So any advance on 6? Billion. I mean, it depends. I mean, most of us have 100 billion. I don't know who count these. Americans say it's 200 billion, but that's, that's them, obviously. For the rest of us, it's 100 billion. So we're talking here 100,000. We're now growing these things. This is the little dish on the left-hand side. That's where they grow. We have to keep it moist and so on. Can't let it dehydrate. The right-hand side are the electrodes that you see, and the neurons grow in there, link up with each other. It's quite amazing. These brain cells, you put them down, they've got no connection. Within a few minutes, you can see them putting out what look like tentacles. And these tentacles then start linking up with... You ought to try this. Take a few of your brain cells out tonight. Try and see. They start linking up with each other very quickly to form the dendrites and the axons, the inputs and the outputs. And with just over a week gone, we've got this brain-like activity that we can use for the robot. And what we're using now, not just rat neurons, but we're growing in 3 dimensions, which takes the number up to 30 million. And we're also using human neurons because it links more closely to memories and things like that. So it's exciting research and something you could do in the future if you want. Deep brain stimulation is a medical process that's used to help people with Parkinson's disease. You can see it actually involves electrodes positioned in the central area of the brain. And what we're doing, this is typically the sort of information that we have. The top line is the electrical activity in the brain as a patient, this is actually from an actual patient, experiences the sort of tremors that occur with Parkinson's disease. So the bottom line is the muscular activity, and what we're trying to do is use artificial intelligence to learn to recognize the electrical activity so that with the stimulators, at the moment the battery only lasts about 2 years and it has to be replaced. We're trying to make the battery last a lot longer by making the stimulator intelligent, so it only stimulates when it needs to stimulate. And so what the artificial intelligence system does is actually predict from the electrical activity when tremors are going to start, and then it stimulates just when it needs to, if you see what I mean. So it's to save the battery. Now, the final area, you've maybe all been waiting for this. Those of you that are already enhanced probably will say, oh dear, we know all that. But the sort of possibilities, if you thought, why should I bother with enhancement? I've just gone through them quickly. Memory, obviously, we forget all sorts of things. Communication is the big one, because I'm sure anybody, all of us here, anybody that uses a computer is really embarrassed in how they have to communicate, because compared to technology, how we communicate is absolutely pathetic, isn't it? We have to admit. Highly complex electrochemical signals, thoughts, images, concepts, emotions, and when we want to communicate those to somebody else, what do? We convert them into mechanical pressure waves. Oh dear. And then those signals travel very slowly, and somebody's ears will pick them up, convert these mechanical signals back into electrochemical signals. What century are we living in here? The possibility of communicating directly from brain to brain, we have to be working on that sort of thing, so we can communicate not in terms of these simple coded messages, but in terms of images and thoughts and emotions and feelings. I mean, anybody that's been married now 20, 30 years, You have no idea what it is your spouse is trying to tell you. If your brain was linked up, you'd know exactly, if she's saying to you, yeah, that's great, that's great. Now you'd actually know whether it's great, it's great. What have I done about this? Well, this is at the Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. There's me on the operating table. This was 2 hours of neurosurgery to have this little thing implanted into my nervous system. It's called the Utah Array, because that's where it comes from. That's Utah, not Array. There's not a place called Array. And it's got 100 spikes on it. The electrodes, about 2 micrometers. So they're very, very small. But that's the same sort of size as nerve fibers and brain cells, that sort of thing. And this was fired into the median nerves of my left arm. And it was there for just over 3 months for the purpose of the experiment. Now, what could we do with it in terms of the different experiments? Because partly it was looking at, could we use this technology to help people who are paralyzed or have difficulties in that way? But also, where could we go with enhancement? And we saw earlier Jawesh feeling ultrasonic signals, feeling distance. One of the things that I was able to do was to feel distance, but this time more directly. It took me 6 weeks to learn to recognize pulses that we were inputting into my nervous system. And when we did this experiment, as an object came closer, my brain was receiving pulses of current that increased in frequency the closer an object came, and then decreased as the object moved further away. So with a blindfold on, I was able to detect objects and could detect pretty accurately if they moved closer or further away. This is my wife, Irena, who's with me today, and she helped in a number of ways with the experiment. The jewellery was put together by a student at the Royal College of Art. So you see, students can do useful things. And just, take it as an inspiration. The jewellery changes colour from red to blue, and it was linked to my nervous system, which I could, open and it's blue, close my hand and it's red. But if you can imagine now, the best way, if I'm calm and relaxed, the jewellery is blue, and if I get excited, the jewellery starts flashing red. Now, she didn't work in the university, and if you imagine, there she is in her office, and she's walking around, and the jewellery is blue. Fine, he's not doing anything he shouldn't. And then it starts flashing red. What is he doing? And more importantly, who is he doing it with? How she could be so suspicious, I don't know. This was taken at Columbia University, New York. If any of you have been there, film buffs here, what film was filmed at Columbia University? Ah, brilliant. Got it, yes. Go on, a bit louder. Thank you very much. Excellent. You win a jamboree bag ready for you at the back. Ghostbusters was filmed, but they also do research there. And sometimes, sorry, Columbia. What we did was plug my nervous system live into the internet and linked up to a robot hand, which was back at Reading University in England. So when I moved my hand in New York, my brain signals went across the internet to move the robot hand. When it gripped an object, signals were sent back across the internet so that I could feel how much force the robot hand was applying on another continent. So one thing, with this technology, you extend your body. Your brain and your body do not have to be in the same place. So, go for it. The final clip, which is, for me was the biggest thing, this was my wife again. Now, what she had, you can try this tonight, just push some electrodes into your nervous system. It goes by the name of microneurography, so it sounds great. What it is, though, is you will find it's extremely painful. And we thought that she was going to have some anesthetic, but the doctor said, no, I need to make sure I've made a good contact. So he pushed the electrode in, she screamed, and the doctor said, I think we've made a good contact there. We actually pushed 2 electrodes in, went back to the lab, and linked our nervous systems together electrically. So when she moved her hand, my brain received a pulse. So what we did was a telegraphic communication. She went tick, 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 and my brain received tick, tick, tick. So it was a telegraphic communication directly nervous system to nervous system. That's what we actually achieved. Now, where we go from here clearly is brain-to-brain communication. Implants in one person's brain, another brain, and let's communicate in a much more effective way, directly brain-to-brain. I have to say, my wife, Irena, for some reason feels that's a little bit dangerous. I'm not sure why. So presently I'm looking for a volunteer. So if there's anybody there that doesn't mind having a brain implant and would like to communicate in a whole new way, I know it's only my thoughts that you're going to be receiving, but that's just a start. So I will leave you. Thank you very much. And if any of you want to volunteer, please let me know.